Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Inkylesconvo. Again, as I say all the time, it's great to be back, and it's great to have guests that I genuinely find interesting. And today's guest, we actually have a funny story because I was meant to go to a certain company that we'll get into, have events up north in Inverness, and I was actually meant to go to this, and it turns out I actually ended up it's a huge circle. It's really funny that life kind of brings people around to you without you actually knowing. And it's tonight's guest is called Iain Hamilton. How are you, mate?
I'm not bad at all, Kyle. Thanks for inviting me on.
No, it's honestly my pleasure. Like we were saying before, it's strange how life kind of goes in huge circles, and then I end up meeting you. It's funny and it's extraordinary at the same time.
Maybe if you'd met me then, you'd have gone, "Oh, no chance am I having him on the podcast." I've met him. I've seen what he's like.
He's a scary guy. I don't want to have him on. But so you were at it's hard because you do quite a lot. You spread yourself, as I say to people, most people I speak to don't necessarily do one thing. They usually have one thing they do, or then a company they work for, or this sort of stuff. So before we even get into this stuff you do, how do you manage to spread your time with that and spend time as people don't know, we had a conversation before, so walking his dog and stuff. How do you spread your time between that?
It's a bit of a struggle, and I don't sleep a lot, I think is probably the answer. But no, I mean, I'm quite lucky because the way things have worked out, I work for the Economic Development Agency for the Highlands and Islands. Mm-hmm. And I look after creative industries for them. And so Xponorth and all these things have been part of that as well. But it just, it's just growing arms and legs, and it's got huge. And I still find time occasionally to get out and have a tune still as well, which was what got me into all this stuff to begin with. And take the dog out because the dog would object if she didn't get her walk and things. And occasionally I have to speak to my wife and family too. So although that might not be high on their list of priorities sometimes.
They maybe like how you're busy all the time.
I think so.
But now, before we get into what you do in the Highlands and Islands Enterprise and Xponorth, see when you were before, because you were at the Highlands and Islands Arts, I'm guessing that's Arts University or Arts College.
No, what it was going way back was that music was what I was into, and I played the pipes and played traditional music, and I played in different kinds of bands and things, and I made my living doing that for a bit. And then I decided that I ought to get a qualification, so I went to university because I didn't cover my cell in glory when I was at school, and I thought I ought to try and do something there. And just the way things worked out, this opportunity came up to work for this company. It was a kind of not-for-profit that helped develop arts and things in the Highlands and Islands, and they wanted somebody to work on music, and I got the chance to get involved with that, which then led on to me doing this other kind of work working for the development agency, HIE, Xponorth and things. So it was a great chance for me just to move from depending on playing and the work around that to try a different side to creative things and arts and culture and stuff. And so it was a super opportunity. And then, as I said, I was really lucky and got to make that next step again. That was really looking at creative industries in general, more really about business, the business side of it, how to make a living off that. As I said, what's been brilliant for me is just that I still get a chance to be involved in all the stuff that interests me. I get to meet lots of interesting folk, people that have the same kind of passions and interests as I do, and spend time either moaning about how bad things are or celebrating how good things are or whatever. But it's just really interesting to be able to talk to folk about these subjects. And as I said, the beauty of the job is that it is about trying to help folk make money out of their creative work. And so, if you can help someone, what more could you want out of it? It's great.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so appreciative of as I say to everybody, but as yourself as well, your time, because the difference with most people is that as people don't know, it's quite late at night. So like, again, thank you for your time. I like we're finishing right now, but thank you for your time again. But you're so how did you get involved with the Highlands and Islands Enterprise then? Or was that just like a job that came up, or was there something else there?
Yeah, it was a job that came up, and I decided I would go for it because it was an opportunity to do more than I had been doing with Highlands and Islands Arts. But as I said, my passion was always was music, and I love all kinds of music and still listen all the time, and that's really what I had wanted to do. As I got older, and you would just think, well, it would be good to try something slightly different. That traveling around all the time and things is getting quite heavy going. Maybe I could look at some other elements of that. So I did the stuff with High Arts for a while, and then the job came up with Highlands and Islands Enterprise to take it on, but it really meant expanding on what I worked on. So it meant, there was music still, obviously, but then there was screen and film and TV and radio, fashion and textiles and crafts and publishing. So again, a lot of stuff that I just didn't know much about, but I had to go and learn fast. But I've been really lucky that I've met a lot of interesting folk and folk that have been really generous with their time and to allow me to build up my knowledge and be able to do the work and to help with things. So I've got to say that's been one of the best things of all about the job is about the different folk that I've met and folk that I still work with who have just been so good about helping and giving me information and the help, and then also coming in now and being involved in what we're doing to help other folk with the stuff. And that's been a real winner because it's just meeting so many great folk.
Yeah. Because it seems like again you were like doing a lot. How did you manage to work full time and play like an instrument at the same time? Or was it a little bit different? Or did you, like you were saying, did you go and effectively tour and play the instrument or play the bagpipes and things? Or was it just at weekends you did that? Or
no, that was my job.
Oh, right,
was playing, and then as I said, I decided that it was time to make some changes. And the other thing was that I decided out to get a qualification so that if things changed, maybe it would be useful. And it was a great idea. I mean, I've got to say, going to university was fabulous because I still spent most of my time playing music and enjoying it as well. But I met a lot of folk who was good. But I also met my wife there, and she actually was Swiss, so she was moving to Scotland to stay permanently in Scotland, and being out sort of 5 nights a week playing wasn't a great plan. It was, and so it seemed like a good time to try something slightly different. But I didn't want to lose that connection with music and creativity and things. And so I was really lucky that these opportunities came up. And the other thing is that there's all these young folk that are playing now that are just absolutely amazing. So I bet you my work would have dried up anyway, because boy, the competition now for the things is incredible. There's just so many great players out there, great musicians around. But I don't throw that in normally. It's definitely my choice.
Yeah, so like if you had the opportunity to play not play 5 nights a week what you were, but if you had the opportunity to play maybe say like maybe two weekends or 3 weeks, because obviously you do a lot, so maybe like 2 weekends or 3 weekends a month, or maybe even every weekend, would you take it back again? Like, would you, if you had the opportunity?
I still like to go and play at things. I still love the chance to go and play, so I still do odd bits and pieces, but it's a bit different now because you're not depending on it. You don't have to go out and do everything that you can find, and it's a little different. But to be honest, I really love what I'm doing because like even just over the course of this week, I've been talking to somebody who is doing a creative industries research for how to develop creative industries in Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan. I've spoken to somebody about architecture and how they can get people interested and engaged in architecture. I'm trying to think what else was over the last few days. We've had like a number of different kind of businesses being in touch saying they want to do stuff. I've also, a bit like yourself with LinkedIn, I go through that because we're always looking for speakers to use at for the conference we run, or for videos that we put up on the website and things. So again, you spend a bit of time just getting in touch with folk on LinkedIn, often just cold calling folk in the hopes that we can persuade them to get involved and help out. So as I said, you never quite know what you're going to come up against each day and what opportunities will appear, and it's really exciting. I have enjoyed, it could be something about publishing one day. I mean, one of the things we did recently, some of my colleagues at Xponorth more than me this one, but they did a tweet pitch. So if you were a writer, you could put a tweet out with an idea for your book or whatever, and it goes in front of loads of publishers and agents. So they have a look at it, and if they're interested, they get back to them. And we know there's always folk get publishing deals off it and things. So, that could be one day you're involved in that and it's really interesting. And then the next time it could be something completely different. It might be about music or whatever. So, that's exciting. Never quite sure what the day's going to bring.
Yeah. Well, looking for speakers and that, I better be on the ball today then.
Aye, that's the one.
So you were you are head of the creative industries, but is that the job you applied for, or was there like?
Well, it wasn't head at the time, but that's the job I applied for. I must admit, I thought when I started, I might be lucky and get a couple of years out of it, and it's just kept going because it's just grown and grown. And then when as we had that ability to bring Xponorth around and get those going, it's just opened up so many other ways that we can help folk and projects that we can be involved in, and the work's got bigger and bigger. But fortunately, touch wood, it seems to be going fine just now, and we're going strong. Maybe things will change in the future, but I think you have to enjoy it as much as you can while it's working well. And we know that we're back into getting ready for the next rounds of funding to keep everything going and raising the money for those things. And you go, yeah, that's not a fun bit, but it's a necessary evil. You just deal with that side of it because you know that the other parts will be or make it all worthwhile.
It's like as well along the way, it's like you have to like enjoy the fruits of your labor as well. Like there's that type of thing. Like look at what you've built. Again, with like I said to you before, like I heard about Xponorth 2016, I can't remember the exact year, maybe it's 2018. It was one of those years.
Yeah.
I heard about Xponorth, and like I always say, I didn't know you at this point, and even though I go up there on holidays, I didn't actually see it. Like I wasn't involved in it, so I was just at like gyms and things like that. So it's crazy to see how like, and following along, it's crazy to see how big it's gotten. But like, so with Xponorth,
the only thing is, just when you mentioned going to gyms and things, that was the one thing that worried me when you asked me on the program. Well, there was two things. One was I was going, oh God, all these other speakers you've had before, they've all had really interesting stories to tell. That's a tough act to follow. And then the next one was, please don't let him mixed up the nights and I'm suddenly on the lifting podcast, because the nearest to weightlifting is me getting up out of my seat or something. It's you wouldn't have met me in the gym. That's
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, and well, those of you who do know, I do have another show called the Lifting Podcast. It's mainly filmed in my gym though, so because it's a private unit I train at. So I mean, if you'd seen like the weights in that here, you would have been like, wait a minute, I think I'm on the wrong show here. But yeah, that's something else I do. But yeah, because it's a passion. Weightlifting, like I said to you before, weightlifting. So for me, is like kind of like obviously creative industries and like music. I'm into like a huge fan of Hans Zimmer, people like that. So that's huge for me.
Yeah.
But then weightlifting is another thing. So it's like what keeps me grounded, what keeps the mental thing going. It's a huge passion. So that's why that started.
I have to say that I think I absolutely get what you're talking about there, because I know that you've talked about mental health and things in your podcasts before, and I know that there's been various times where I've had issues with depression and things. But what I found is that when you have when you have a passion for something, and so that's the bit that does ground you. It takes your mind off everything else. And for you going and working out with the weights, it'll be me. It's going and playing some music because you don't think about anything else. You quieten your mind down, and it's just a great way of. I think it's really important is to have a passion for something. I don't think it matters what it is, well, within reason.
Yeah,
I think it's just important that you have, and I hope that my own kids, they're really into music. But again, if it wasn't music, I wouldn't be bothered. It's just to be excited about something, to be able to get excited about stuff and really want to be involved in doing something. I think that's great. I think it's important.
Yeah, it's and I appreciate you saying that. And it's as well as though it's like I said to certain people that ask me, why do you do a podcast and why do you because it's a lot of it's not as easy as just like contacting and coming on the show. It's editing, it's watching it back to make sure everything's right and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's because this actually I've never said this before in live, but this actually the podcast itself, like podcasts and speaking to people, that actually helps me mentally as well. It keeps my mind off certain things. So this is like that's why another reason why I'm so thankful to other people, because well, I guess it cat's out the bag now, but because it helps me personally being able to speak to people and being able to hear people's stories. It's like, you know what, we're all this, even though I know we are, but we're all the same, and it helps. The podcast for me is hugely helpful. That's why I put so much passion and time into it.
I think it's great, and I know when we spoke before, just before we're doing this, you were talking about having ambitions for the podcast, and why you were doing it and everything. And again, I just, for me, that's great, because I just love seeing folk that going and doing something, get on and get it done. And it's not easy to do. I mean, everybody's got challenges and in their life, some more than others, in terms of making things happen. Going and making something happen, and I've got to be grateful, because through the pandemic, it was with COVID and everything, it was so bad for a lot of folk. And what can I complain about? Because I got paid, I was able to work from home, so I was in a very fortunate position. But so it's easy for me to say, "Oh, folk need to go and do something," but I think it is, it is that thing about just find out what your interests are and just do something. Make the most of it and go and do it, because it makes such a difference to you overall. And anyway, that's I'm waffling around, but you get what I'm saying. That's it.
Yeah, no, I feel, and I'm sure everyone will as well. Like, it's really relatable what you're saying as well. And like, it's obviously unfortunate and stuff, but something that I had to not to necessarily make this all about me, but something that I had to kind of overcome a little bit was rejection. So people say no, and people say, no offense, but I'm not interested. I don't like to be in the face. And obviously before, obviously a long time ago now, I didn't deal with rejection well or no or that. But now it's like, okay, thanks, I appreciate it for your time. It's funny how like things like this, I didn't think this would actually be able to change it, but it's funny how things like this can help you be like, okay, that's fine, don't worry about it. We all have stuff. You don't have to be. I think that with what you're saying about following your passions, and that's so true and so like admirable, because at the end of the day, if you're passionate about something, like, as the cliche saying goes, you only live once, and you literally don't know when your day comes, as grim as that is to say, but it's true. So would you want to be remembered as in, when you're like old and retired and like sitting wherever you're wanting to sit, or would you rather say to yourself, when I was in my 20s, or when I was in my 30s or 40s or 50s, would I have liked to have done this, or I should have done this? You don't want to be that guy. You want to be like, I've done it and I move forward and push forward and things. I think that's something that is easy for me to say, again, being 27 and being fortunate, because I'm a student, so we get student loan and all this sort of stuff. So I was a little bit fortunate, but at the end of the day, like, we all have, I think the fortunate people, as long as you're not showing off, and as long as you're using it in the greater good to help people and show people that it can be good, I guess like, not to ramble on like I am a little bit, but yeah, I guess it helps people as long as you're helping people type thing.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. Although probably got everybody greeting as they're listening to this now. We've led them into some chain of thought there, but
yeah,
but I definitely think that there's a lot in that. It's good to have things that keep you going and get you enthusiastic. And
Mm.
I think if you ever lost that, it would be a sad day. So
Yeah, true.
yes.
So anyway, let's go on a nice happy
Yes.
note. You co-founded Xponorth, probably the biggest in my eyes anyway. I don't know necessarily when it comes to numbers, but the biggest creative industries thing that that's technically in Scotland. Like, I don't know, there's nothing really, there's been obviously events in Edinburgh that I'm sure you know of, in Glasgow, but they're not.
Yeah.
I feel that, without naming any names of them, I feel like they're very centered around buying tickets, and you've got to do this and you've got to do that and you've got to sign up and that, whereas yours is very different. Do you want to explain?
I mean, there was a couple of things that when we first started out, obviously it was a lot smaller than it is now, and it's not the world's biggest event by any means, but the numbers have gone up. We normally, until we went online because of COVID, we were getting around 2,000 people coming to it, which is big for us. It sounded big in Inverness when we were trying to find accommodation and things and get it sorted. And then the numbers have gone up when it's been online, because obviously it's easy for folk to watch the stuff without having to travel. But there was a couple of things that we had to do, otherwise we didn't want to do it. And one of them was the event had to be free, because there's enough barriers to people, especially like students and like yourself and that looking at it, there's enough barriers to go into things without adding extra cost to it. So we didn't want it to be like that. And the other thing is that because of the way the event's gone, people were you mixed with the VIP guest speakers the same as everybody else. So it meant that you did have an opportunity to get to talk to folk that you might never have a chance to meet any other time. And that was really the point. It was about making it as open as we could, so that everybody had a chance to get the benefit of being there, hearing what folk had to say, asking questions, going for a drink or something with them afterwards, but just to be able to learn a bit more and see what opportunities there were for them. I think, again, if it had ever lost that kind of friendly atmosphere, that would be another reason for stopping it, because it wouldn't work anymore. It's really just those are the key things. And as I said, that keeping it free and open is important, because it would rule out so many people from attending or being part of it if we started to charge for it. But we are certainly, it's a unique event, because there are some great events on in Scotland. On the music side, some things like White Days in Edinburgh, they're doing lots of stuff, or you've got these different film festivals and things, and it's great. But I think we're kind of unique in being one of the few that it's all sorts of creative stuff. So you can be sitting next to a fashion designer and a musician in the room, or you could have somebody that's a writer, and it could be a games developer behind you, or it's just getting that mixture of things, because we always felt, and what we've tried to build it to was that if you were a young musician, say, it might be more useful for you to meet someone who makes films or makes podcasts than it would be to meet another musician on that day, because you know a bit about music. If you play, you've got friends that play, but you may not know anybody that's doing podcasts that could reach a load of other people and spread the word. Or, could you get your music used in a bit of film? And it doesn't, great if it can be a paid things, going to Hollywood or something would be fabulous. But even, just looking at yourself as a student, what are other folk around you doing as students? It's a great opportunity to work together to create a kind of portfolio of stuff to prove what you can do and develop opportunities like that. So that was a lot of what we do is around those kind of ideas.
Yeah, I think that's what's admirable as well. Like, obviously, I said to you before, the only difference between us is that at that present moment in time, we couldn't afford accommodation or we didn't drive. So there was that little bit of, and then we all kind of got a little bit, we're going to take the bus, and then we all, got nervous and never went.
No, but I can understand that. But
yeah.
I mean, we try and help. I mean, when it's live rather than the online ones, we always booked out the youth hostel and things like that as well, just so that we could offer places to stay to students and things. And we've tried what we can to make it as open. There's a limit because there's only a finite amount of money that we can manage. But we certainly have tried to keep it as open. But I know there's always going to be folk who, for whatever reason, can't manage or can't get involved. But one of the things that's happened in the last wee while is that we've been getting more and more inquiries just from folk involved in their creative businesses who've had disabilities, or there's a reason they can't do something online in the way that, talking the way we are or whatever. More and more we've been having to find other ways of doing stuff to increase the access again. Again, I'm definitely not trying to say that it's all perfect and we've got it all sussed, because that would be a lie, but we're getting better all the time and learning more ourselves about how we can make it just as accessible as we possibly can. And okay, but the stuff's online at the moment, but if we do get back to, or when we get back to doing physically everybody meeting up again, doing that stuff, I will certainly keep on pushing to try and make it as accessible as it possibly can be.
See, when you're saying 2,000 people and you're saying, it's not huge, that's a lot of people. Like,
it's a lot of people for us. I just mean, like, I know that in international terms, it's not the biggest event in the world, but it's a good event, I think. I'd like to think, and it's solid, and it's a decent number of folk. And we've been really lucky because we've been able to build up a great network of people that really are decision makers in their businesses internationally, and they get involved with the stuff, and they give their time to people to help them and give advice and introduce them to folk and things. So those kind of things are exciting. And coming back to stuff like LinkedIn, a lot of the we've met some of the folk at various things, or we've been introduced to them, but others are folk that just looked up LinkedIn, looked for interesting people, folk that I thought would be great to get involved and talk to, and you get in touch with them. Some reply, some don't, but enough reply to have definitely made it worthwhile and have been useful.
Yeah, that's something I've never quite gotten when, like, for coming on a podcast. I mean, like I said, I understand it, but for an actual event to get asked to go to it, even if it's like free or even if it's paid, it doesn't matter. To get, like, that's an honor. Like, that's just the way. I guess it's just maybe the way I was brought up with, like, just being brought up with a mum and respect everyone. Because if somebody like yourself, what you were saying about how you go out and look for these people, and if you get asked and if you turn it down, that's a huge missed opportunity. Because as you're saying, one of those, if you're I'll just use the example you used, that if you're an artist and you want to get out there and you can't because you genuinely don't know that many people, if you get asked to go to an event like that, the people you would meet is, I mean, like you're saying, you could just make up even a jingle as an artist. It does, even something small. They could be in a video game, and if the video game, or like even if the movie goes like huge, you're credited in that. So people like, who made that thing? It's crazy.
Yeah, you don't know what opportunities you'll get and what they'll lead to, and some things work well, other things won't. But you have to put yourself. The thing we've always looked at is that it's good to be lucky, but to be lucky, you have to put yourself in a place where you can get the luck.
Yeah.
And so there's things that you can do. And you asked me about coming on the podcast, so of course I was going to do it, because if nothing else, regardless of anything else, in fact, there's some more people that will have heard about Xponorth and might just go and check it out and say, oh, well, actually, I could do with some help about this, so I'll get in touch with them. And as I said, folk are welcome to drop me a line. Easy to find me on LinkedIn, particularly because that's the one I use most. But it's easy enough to find Xponorth and get in touch. So there may be folk will get some benefit out of that. On the other hand, it makes a few more folk aware of what we're doing, promotes it too. So what's to be lost? And then also we got to have a blether. I've got somebody else in my network now that I didn't have before. So
exactly, and I'm always more than welcome to come in. Like, as I say, the next one, as long as things match up, then the next one I'd be more than happy to come to.
We'll make sure you're sorted, Kyle. Kidnap you and drag you to it. I should tell you, I did get every now and again, there's been things that we've been invited to, and I've been invited to that we went abroad.
Oh, wow.
But there was one that was the weirdest experience, but also a great experience, was that I got asked to go to Albania for this conference thing and to talk to folk. So I had to get a flight to Vienna, and then from Vienna to the airport, the Mother Teresa Airport. The flight got in at midnight, so it's pitch black. It was pouring rain. I'm standing outside the terminal because the security wouldn't let you stay in the terminal, and there's hordes of people around. Nobody can speak English, and I certainly don't speak Albanian. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking around knowing that somebody's supposed to pick me up, and I'm supposed to meet somebody from Estonia as well. It's like I could be anywhere. And eventually this guy came over and spoke, and it turned out this was a who to me. So we got taken over to this Land Rover thing, and the windscreen's got a big hole in it, a big crack, and there's one wiper blade's hanging off and the other one's going, and it's bucketing rain. There's no tarred roads. So we might have been driving through a field, or we might have been on the road, and then we come into this town and like graffiti and stuff, and you're going, oh my God, nobody knows where I am. I mean, this is grim. And then this could be anywhere. And then we came to this hotel that we were to stay in. And as you got to it, a lot of lights and things there, and then it had speakers outside, and they were playing Hotel California. Once you're here, you can never leave. And I was thinking, oh no, this is just going to be the end of it. Mm. And the hotel was so close to the beach that it actually got salt water in, and when you turned on the tap, salt water came out. So it was really bizarre, but it was brilliant. The folk were so nice and made a great time. But boy, it was definitely an experience when you land. And that was one of those moments when I really did wonder if I had made the right decision about agreeing to go on that one.
The thing, it's the fact that you were in a different country and couldn't speak the language. But at the end of the day, even if you could speak Albanian, it's still not your home country. So you might misinterpret stuff. You'll get worried. You'll be like, you get that. I honestly I'd be texting people that day, being like, "Kid, I don't think I'm going to make it back." Because
you may never see me again. Because as I said, I should say it did turn out great, because I couldn't have met nicer folk and everything. But it was definitely, that arrival was an experience and a half.
Oh man, that's the type of thing that if how long ago was it? Just before I say what I was going to say.
Oh, it's a few years ago now. So I can't even remember what year it was. I can't remember how many. I
was going to say that's the sort of thing that would have made a great YouTube video. How yes, I got lost in Albania.
I know that maybe you should have gone for that, because definitely I had visions of being trapped there. I mean, no, we've had a few gems with that, because it always sounds very glamorous when you say that there's a chance to go to something in a different place, but it invariably ends up that it's not. I mean, I have a friend who works on the Xponorth, Alex, who's become quite friendly over the years, and he and I ended up at this one in the States, but we didn't actually have enough money to be able to eat and things there, so we were virtually going in and getting a bit of toast and sharing a coffee in the homeless shelter. We were in a nice hotel where we got put to stay, but just couldn't afford to eat anything or do stuff. So it wasn't that glitzy and romantic, glitzy and glamorous at the time, but it was fun in its own way.
Yeah. The thing is, so as we said before as well, it's like every little thing, the experience. I mean, you the knowledge you probably got from most people, even in the States, it doesn't matter. Even if you you were to get asked to speak in. We're speaking about Perth for a few different reasons, and even if you were to get asked there, it's the knowledge you'll learn from the people.
Absolutely. That's something else definitely that I've always felt, is that you just never know who you're going to meet at things and what will come out of it. And as I said, if you're lucky, if it's a work type thing, and you're trying to pursue your business ideas or whatever, hopefully you'll meet folk that will be useful for that. But you just don't know. It might be that you meet folk that will remain friends. Maybe it'll be something for work. But if you don't put yourself in the place to have the opportunity, you'll never know what you may or may not have got out of it. So, I don't think anything like that is wasted. It's always worth seeing what you.
Yeah, you're totally true. And I think as well as it's like the whole thing, like I was saying, and I push to people a lot, is that don't ever be afraid of no, or like people ignoring you. Because like if you don't, and like the last person we had on, who I won't say his name because you all can go and watch it back. As he said, it's like, if you don't ask, you don't get. Like if you literally, even if it's like
absolutely
out there, you never know the opportunities that you just never know what somebody that's I don't know, say you want to be a professional footballer, for example, and you want to speak to somebody like Cristiano Ronaldo or Wayne Rooney. Obviously there's other people, but I don't really know them that well. You never know if you DM them or message them or that if they might get back to you or not. That's because you never know, really.
Well, that's it. I mean, it might not sound like it because I've been waffling on to you since we came on, but that's probably your fault for making it easy. But I'm quite shy. Talking to folk that I don't know, talking to strangers is my idea of hell in a lot of ways. I find it quite challenging.
Yeah.
But I'm also realised that how much I would have missed if I didn't force myself to make the effort.
Yeah, 100%.
If you see what I mean. And obviously it gets easier the more you do anything. You get better at it with practice. But yeah, I just think that for anybody that is looking at, trying to build their own networks for their career or whatever the way they're doing, is that it's worth putting up with a bit of discomfort to go and just meet people and get talking, because you just don't know what you're going to get out of that. And I mean that in a nice way. It's not about you only talk to folk to get something out of them, but you just never know what will come from it, what opportunities appear.
Yeah, I think I know. Again, I know. Thank you for what you said. It's very nice of you to say that I make it easy for you to talk. That means a lot personally. But again, no, I think what people don't realize is that if you are, like, say for example, you're just talking to somebody to get a discount in a shop or something, just something like really, really simple, that person will be able to tell that you're just doing that to get the discount in the shop. That's the thing. Like, people can tell when you're just using them for things. They're not, although some people, class people aren't like stupid. They know that you're using them. But what you have to watch as well is that I've said to people before is that if you're going to use somebody once, you don't know who that person knows. And if you're not very nice to that person, or you're genuinely just a horrible person, that person might know the next person you're trying to get in touch with and be like, by the way, that so-and-so was not very nice to me. He used me for this. And then, like, I think at the end of the day, though, it comes down to, like, it's just not hard to be nice to everybody. Like what you're saying, to make everybody feel comfortable.
No, you're absolutely right. And I know that one of the things, it's funny because talking to some young bands and things in the past, and saying, what advice would you give? And you go, well, actually, one of the most important things is be nice, because if you go and deal with a promoter, or you go to a venue and you make a mess of the place and you upset everybody, they're not going to want you back. If you're like a multimillionaire pop star, you might be able to get away with it. But most of us are not in that position. So a bit of common sense and a bit of courtesy doesn't go amiss, just to keep, even just because it keeps folk on side, that people are much more willing to help you or engage with you in whatever way if you're just pleasant.
To give you're going to get the time of day if you're nice enough to give someone else the time of day. It's all about that type of thing. But I'm curious, just something you said actually that I quite want to question you on, is that you said you're quite a shy person. But so how did you overcome that then, to be able to talk to, for example, say like, hundreds and hundreds of people at Xponorth, or even at work, or just in general? How did you manage to overcome that then?
The standing up in front of a room full of people isn't as bad as I find as walking into a room and having to go and talk to people one-to-one. Just to walk up to strangers and introduce yourself and speak, that sort of. But basically what I did was I watched people who were good at it to see what they did. And then I set myself a target, and I would go to something and say, right, today I'm going to speak to 10 people. And whatever happens, I will speak to 10 people. And I would I created targets for myself that would make it manageable. So you could break it down, and just kept building that up until it got easier. So it's still not necessarily my favorite thing to do, but I can manage. See what I mean? I can deal with it. But it was definitely a case of just breaking it into bits, and don't start trying to talk to everybody in the room. Set yourself a target that and push yourself each time just that wee bit more.
It's like what you're saying. That's again, it's relatable because it's like setting, for just because you like you said about going into a room full of people and that, it's like your goals. You never like set loads of goals at once. You set like little tiny goals. But I'm curious as well because you were saying that you were in a band and played an instrument and stuff. So were you shy then? Because getting and speaking to people is shy enough. It's hard enough. But getting up and playing an instrument well enough in front of people, that's meant to be like another ball game.
But actually, I don't mean that you never get nervous playing in front of folk, because I do. But what I would say is that it feels different because there's the instrument between me and an audience, that for starters. And the other thing is that I was more confident about playing than I was about talking. I kind of knew what my level was of playing, and not the best in the world, but not the worst either. So it was what it was. But I knew what I could do with that. Going and talking and meeting people like that was a harder one, because I think most people have some insecurities and concerns and things. And I know there's some folk that are just very, very good at talking. There was a guy, sadly, who's passed away now, but was just an absolute legend. He worked in radio and worked for Radio Scotland, Stuart Cruikshank. And he was a lovely man, just really, really nice. But he had this absolutely incredible talent for talking to people wherever he went. And he would always remember something about everybody that he'd met. And so if he ever met them again, he'd go, "Oh, and how is such and such you told me about?" But it was just his manner that he came over as being so interested in you. You felt like his best friend in the way that he spoke to people. And you go, that was one of the ones you looked at. It's just, it was a great thing that he did. And it was natural. It wasn't put on. But he just had this incredible talent for going and talking to people and making them feel at ease and chatting and getting to know them. And that was something I was always very envious of, that ability. And you go, right, well, I won't achieve it to that level maybe, but I'm going to try to emulate it and learn from that.
Yeah, I think I like how did I, well, for me it's a little bit, I always relate things this is why some people think I'm quite boring, because I relate everything back to the gym, but it's just where I learn stuff. I had the same kind of thing as you, except mine wasn't 10, mine was to meet a new person every day. So I'd introduce myself, and obviously the gym's a little bit of a different environment because people might think you want to help and all sort of stuff. I would just go and meet random people, like talk to random people, and even be nice to people. That's how it managed for me. But I guess as well as because I think it just comes to like a natural interest in other people. I think that's all it is. It's like not just being like self-centered. It's about actually having a care like about other people. Yeah. It's a weird one.
But you come over, like you're doing these podcasts, and you've managed to keep, you've made sure that conversation's been going the whole time we've been on. You've asked questions, you've taken an interest in what I'm doing. I mean, it seems you seem to have an ability to do that. You're able to keep the conversation going. I mean, we've had some email messages and things, and we've been in touch, to arrange to do this. But until we started speaking just before you were recording, we hadn't met, we hadn't really spoken. So you just sat there and you're coming out with questions and chatting away. So you know, you obviously have some ability to talk to people. It's,
you know what, not to get on a really, you know, not to make this all about me either, but to get on a really grim note, it's like a couple of years ago, like I've never spoken about this publicly, but a couple of years ago, just before lockdown, I wasn't in the best place, like mentally. I just wasn't. I was, you know, in great shape. The gym was going really well. Everything was like perfect, but I wasn't in a great shape mentally. So I think that it comes down, obviously, I didn't tell anybody. So that's where this originally stemmed from, the me being able to talk to other people, because I was like, I wonder if that person's all right, just in general.
yeah.
So if I think, and as long as like you're talking to people, even like a slight compliment to people, you don't know how far that goes. Like this is the weird thing. I think that's what it comes to as well. But as you're saying with you know, and again, thank you for that, about the, you know, being able to talk to people as if I've known them for years, because I just feel like I just speak to people as if they've been my friend for like 20 years. It's weird when I go into an interview for a job or something, and the person's like, the way you're speaking to me is if like we knew you from kids and stuff. It's so strange. It's a weird environment and things like that. But I just have a general interest in people, to be honest with you. That's really all it is.
Yeah, just as we've been talking about, that's a good thing. It's back to that, those things that, you know, that stand people in good stead. And I don't mean it's put on. It's not about saying it's an act, but taking an interest in people and things, and just how you deal with folk. It is an important skill as well in its own right. You can make your life so much better and so much easier and achieve more things if you keep folk on your side and, you know, make that effort. You can never have too many friends, I reckon.
No, and you can never, as I say to people as well, it's like, you know, as you just said as well, but you can never have too many acquaintances either. So people that you know you can speak to, and there comes to that thing. It's just about, I guess, and we, you know, went a little bit different from what I was originally going to say there. I'm going to change this actually to, I think it's the fact that if you're, as I say, if you're nice to one person, then it makes you feel nice about yourself. Like the whole,
yes.
I don't know if this is the correct word, to be honest with you, but is it the endorphins? Is that what's in your brain that makes you feel good? That's the one. If you hit your endorphins that manage to nail that, it's incredible how good you can feel. You can get a better sleep, you can eat better. Being nice is actually, as weird as this sounds, being nice is actually healthy. It's healthy for you. It's the weird thing. It's incredible. But, you know, I always like to you know, ask people certain questions, and I'd be really considering, like, you know, what you do in that. I'd be really interested in this one, but I don't actually know. Do you use like Instagram and things like personally, or is it just like Xponorth and enterprise?
To be honest, it's mainly mainly I use this stuff for work rather than personally, and it's not because I disapprove of it, any of those things, or have a problem with them. It's just time, and it's bad. So I use LinkedIn a lot because I really like it, because it tends to be things that I'm interested in, you know, that folk get in touch and they're putting stuff up. And there's a lot, I find there's a lot of interesting stuff there, because obviously some of my hobbies are work related anyway, the things I'm interested in. But what I tend to find is that, you know, a lot of my friends, we use like WhatsApp and message each other that way, rather than necessarily putting stuff up on Instagram personally. But as I said, that's mainly due to laziness on my part and lack of getting around to doing it, rather than thinking there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, well, if you ever want to set that up personally, I'll help you. Like, I'll get you.
Right. Well,
I'll help make you famous. Okay.
Man, that's me sorted. Then I'll go for that.
As long as you, is the only thing I will tell is you have to start doing those TikTok dances. That's the way it goes. To get famous, you have to start doing the TikTok dances. That's about it.
Oh my God, I could just imagine my kids, they'd be humiliated, which makes me think actually it's a really good idea, because is that not what parents are meant to do, is embarrass their children? So
yeah, I'll put your LinkedIn below and things like that for people to
get please do. And folk, as I said, I'm genuinely, sometimes it might take a wee while to get back, just depending on how busy things are, but I do try to get back if anybody's got anything that they do want to ask about, or things that they think I might be able to help them with. I'm always happy to at least try anyway.
Yeah. What I was going to ask you was, is like it's not really a serious question, but and I don't know if you say you've watched it, and people know exactly what I'm going to ask because I say that every time. And it's a semi-serious question. Is what I say to people is that, do you think that nowadays that social media is such a social media is effectively your third leg is your social media. It effectively is you on like a permanent posting platform is what I say to people. So do you think nowadays, with it being such a prominent thing that everybody, has it or has some form of it, do you think you should necessarily watch what you post on social media? And I'm not talking about like the obvious things you should stay away from, but like just other things. Do you think you should necessarily watch what you post, or what's your opinion?
Yeah, I do think so, because I think it's the same things apply as we were talking about, about the way you treat other people. Now, you're right. There's certain things that, racism and all these things, stuff that you just wouldn't
just
want to be doing.
That's you just should not do. Yeah.
Wrong. But I think sometimes the problem with anything like that, the downside is that the way people read messages and read stuff may not be how it's intended. You can cause some problems with that. So I think you do want to be careful about what you're posting. The other thing is that, I think back to when I was a student myself and nights out and things, and you go, I'm not sure I would have wanted that all to appear on social media so that in years to come, potential employers can look and find out my track record wasn't necessarily perfect. There's things that I don't necessarily want to share with people like that I would be restricting. But I do absolutely see the importance of social media, where the value of it lies, and for the way that it helped that people can keep in touch and share ideas and share things. And I think that's great. So, when it, at its best, it's a brilliant thing. At its worst, it's not. But isn't that like most things, I suppose?
Too much of everything's bad for you, as they say.
And I must admit, I do look at some posts and you go, I'm really not. If the government wanted to take all your details and every bit of information about you so that you can find out what someone who was at school with you that you don't want to hear from ever again had for breakfast, we would complain, but we'll happily do it on Facebook or something. So, definitely there's some drawbacks.
It blows my mind, like some of the things people post, and they're like, the government, it's like the government aren't actually that bad people. The bad person here is you, because you're the one that is posting this stuff. I'm like, it's like, stop complaining about how your Twitter accounts got blocked when look at what you're posting. Like,
there's definitely
posting that stuff.
There's definitely a point there. Yeah,
it's crazy, you know what I mean? But
but I will concede that a big chunk of my reluctance to use lots of social media platforms is largely just down to laziness, that I never quite get round to doing it. And I keep, every now and again, I think I'll have a flurry of posting stuff thinking I ought to be doing this, and then give it a couple of days and I'll have gone back to it not happening. But as I said, so LinkedIn is the one I tend to use, because that one definitely has more things that interest me. But I know it's not for everybody. It's, everybody will have their own favorites and what they like to use that they get something meaningful out of.
Yeah, I think. See, the guy that actually, I watched a documentary on the guy that I can't remember his name, but he kind of looks like me a little bit, but it's not me, but he kind of looks like me a little bit. Guy from the States that invented LinkedIn. I think its net worth something like 400 million. So it's a lot of money, but not considering like, Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg, as in Jack from Twitter and things like 20, 30 billion they were. But at the end of the day, he said that he still, to this day, he still goes down to his local coffee shop with his laptop and still codes and still learns what people are writing and still sits in it. It's the type of thing that, like, I feel LinkedIn is a very, very, very personal thing, because a lot of your information's up there, but the people you're meeting as well, like yourself, are like proper professional people. They're not just like people complaining. It's proper professional people that are on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, there's like anyone, there's stuff on it that's not as good as other things. You're posting things that come up that I'm just not interested in. But by and large, it tends to be stuff from people who are doing something interesting, or have an interesting story to tell, or whatever. And so I quite like that. And also, as I said, because creative stuff and arts and things, that's my interest anyway.
Mhm.
So I don't find it an ordeal, the fact that it's connected to work in a way, because those are the things I get excited about anyhow. Kind of sad that way.
No, I mean, I'm honestly the entirely same. I check obviously my own my personal Instagram, and then obviously this, and then the other show's Instagram. But to be honest with you, I'm on LinkedIn predominantly because the stuff people do and the jobs people have, or sorry, the things people own, or even like just the way people are on LinkedIn, I feel it's very, very, because I'm very like you know, as a lot of people know, I became sober about 9 years ago now. So like just over 9 years, sorry. So like I'm very like I love professional conversations. Like I'm a huge documentary guy. I love speaking to people that are in the creative industries and things like that, obviously. So in a very football, I love football as in the game, not necessarily a team. So it's very, for me, it's like getting to speak to people that I just would not have the even chance to speak to. Like you can't find certain people on social media versus LinkedIn. I feel LinkedIn's like its own. And I'm not even being paid to say that, by the way. But I'm a huge. As soon as I discovered LinkedIn, I feel like it does change things. Like for people.
Yeah, I like it, but I mean, but I also realised that I'm a good bit older than you, and therefore the way that your age group and folk that are younger, the way that you use social media is different to the way I use it. Just because you have a different experience of growing up with different medias and things. So, I know my own kids, they'd think I'm completely out of touch with everything because, I just wouldn't work the same way they do. And that's perfectly fine, so everybody can find platforms and things that offer them something that they value. It's just that it won't be the same one for all of us. And I said, when you're old and decrepit like me, then that limits some of the other ones. And I definitely think I might go for TikTok now just to humiliate my kids. I think that would be, I know we said about being nice to folk, but sometimes you have to.
Oh, you have to have a laugh. Could you just imagine turning up? I could just imagine when I turn up to Xponorth and you're like, "Hey, Kyle, do you want to come do this TikTok dance? There's this
come
room over there.
This way. We're going to
just start dancing and stuff like that." And people
are
someone opens the door and be like, "What on earth did I come to?"
You're in trouble now. You realise that.
Oh, I know you're going to bring this up when I meet you. You'll bring this up and be like, you need to do a
exactly
TikTok dance.
Because now I have it like evidence. Unless you edit it out, I've got evidence that you said you were coming to do a TikTok video. That's.
Yeah. I do think for artists though, like because I would consider yourself I always consider people that own even are part of businesses are artists, because having a business and a company is fair enough, but being good at it, it's an art. It's an art to be good at it.
I mean, it's a creative skill in its own right. And but again, I mean, I think you were talking about football and things, is that you can admire folk that are skilled at what they do, just think it's really impressive. I have no desire to be a footballer, but it doesn't mean that I can't enjoy seeing somebody that's good at it. And you see folk that do incredible things with the businesses they run, or like you go and do your workouts at the gym and things, and you go, it's impressive. You do weights and you've got that stuff. Now, I'm not going to do it, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that it's great that that folk have these sort of skills and ability to do stuff.
Yeah, I think as well. It's like I'm the same. Like, because I get as you rightfully mentioned before we started, I do interview a lot of like footballers and football coaches and various different stuff, and they're all from like Rangers, Dundee United, Livingston, all these sorts of different clubs, and it's I don't necessarily support a team, because I really don't. I'll go and watch any football game. It's the art of football, being able to like move your feet like that, have the cardio. I mean, I can lift okay weight, but I can't run like that. I couldn't run to the other end of the room. It's just there. It's like right there. I couldn't even run there. So I admire, and I also I admire people, even like yourself, that are willing to dedicate their life to help other people. Like it is what it is, and it's.
I think we do work, and the job is about trying to help folk. But I think you portray it a bit generously. Dedicate my life to helping other people. I think even I would I don't think I could put that on it. Although I'll take it as a quote from you and use it, but definitely not one that I would have said myself.
Well, you technically are, because like, you're not just a random person that works at Xponorth. You're a co-founder, and you're also the head of creative industry as well. So you help people put people in positions effectively. So like
that's fair enough. But I think it's great. And you said I'm just been lucky, and I'm in the fortunate position that I get to do the things I do, and that's great. And yes, that's kind of dried up there. That's
I think that as it's coming to an end of the podcast, and that, I think as well as that, I think something that we should reiterate to people, in that with me being in the creative, obviously I'm not quite to the extent you are, but
you are, because you're doing it. You're actually out doing stuff. That's the point, Kyle. Is that it doesn't matter whether it's to one person or 100,000 people or whatever. You're out doing the stuff, and that's the point. That's what the bit that matters in it.
True, and I think I get, I'll as you said, I'll definitely take it. But the thing is as well is that I think being able to have access to someone like yourself as well, that can help people and can, like, because again, you've overcome some obstacles, because at the end of the day, like you said, like with all of everything we've talked about, I think the most admirable one, and that I think that's people should take from it, as you said, you were quite shy. So it's the confidence thing. You claim, I say you claim not to have confidence, but you were perfectly fine when we were talking, but you managed to overcome it. And then, I think that's something that shows that you can overcome obstacles. Because I bet you didn't think that, say there was like a room of like, because again, I've not been yet, but say there's a room of like a few hundred people or 100 people or something like that. I bet there was a time, whenever that be, ages ago, or maybe even recently, that you were like, I don't know if I can do this.
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, you've no idea. I mean, I've got to say, the number of times when suddenly it becomes all important to check my phone because it means I've got some kind of excuse to pretend that I've got an excuse not to have to go and talk. It's easy to create excuses. That's not fair either. Everybody, like, folk have the challenges there, and as I said, fortunately, I've been in a position to be able to find a way to overcome that and to be able to deal with it. But again, everybody's challenges are different, and their ability to overcome it is down to the situation they're in, the support they've got from other folk. It's very easy to say, well, I found a way of getting over it, so you will too, to whoever it might be. But I think that's a bit unfair. It's just the best you can do is to encourage them, folk, and say it is possible. And if the way I did it helps you, that's what it is. If it doesn't, well, I hope you find a way to deal with that. But I certainly think it would be very easy for me to sit and go, well, if I've done it, so others could. I don't. That just doesn't take into account the situation that they might be in. If you see what I mean, I'm as I said to you, I've been very lucky that I've got a good network of folk around me. That there's people I work with and friends that I really trust and are great folk. I've got a family. I'm in a very enviable position in so many ways. So even things like saying, you get depressed about stuff and you go, why? What on earth have I got to feel that way about? But it doesn't work quite like that.
No.
But as I said, I'm in the lucky position of having that support around me that I know I can rely on, and that not everybody is as fortunate as that.
Yeah, and again, I think as long as, like what you're doing though, is that showing people that you can overcome it. And maybe even like you're saying, obviously we won't talk with them because it's personal stuff, but even if you're having some issues or anything like that, you still overcome them, even though you've got, I think, as well as, like, say for example, someone like yourself that I'll just use myself for example. I don't feel like this, by the way. I'm perfectly fine not having a family at 27, but I'm perfectly fine being single and stuff. But say I wanted to have a family and stuff, and I see someone like yourself having a family, some people would be, wow, I'm really jealous. I can't stand this. And they'd end up like having a sort of hatred towards the person. What you should be envious, because you'd be like, because if it was for me, for example, sake, if I'm like, okay, so I want a family, I'm going to speak to you and how you did it, how you managed to, how you managed to like, not how you managed to have kids. It's not what I mean, but how you managed
Yeah,
to like put up with them.
I don't think I need to explain that one.
Yeah, that's. I kind of know what I mean.
That's a different podcast altogether.
That's a late night one. I'm kind of struggling. I'll admit, I'm kind of struggling to, get to the point.
No, but I get your point. Is that there's always stuff to learn from people, and you go, it doesn't make you good or bad by you needing to well, not you, but anyone looking at other folk. And as I said to you, I mentioned somebody likes that guy Stuart Cruikshank from the my friend there, and it was just, he had that incredible ability of being able to talk to folk. And again, it's about looking at that and going, well, what can I learn from it? And as I said, but not in the judgmental way of going, oh, he's all right, he can do that. It's not like that. It's what can you learn from what other people can do, because everybody has something that you can learn from, and has the ability to do something. And as I said, but it's also appreciating that not everybody is as fortunate as you are yourself. If you see what I mean, and that it's not good to pass judgment that way either, and think, why don't you do something about that? Well, there could be an awful lot of good reasons that someone doesn't, and it's not. Being there to help and give support is a good thing. Judging folk on it's not.
No,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, you explained it way better than what I was trying to explain it. I'm
not sure about
the words together.
But we'll just congratulate each other. I quite like that bit.
Yeah. I'll take it. Thank you very much. Congratulations to you too. But I do like, it's obviously a very like positive note to end the podcast on. But I'm curious, just because again, you're an interesting person. So I'm curious about this one. Is that just because obviously you're saying the things you've overcome and being able to talk to people, and I'm sure you speak to loads and loads and loads of different people, but I never asked you this, I should have, how do you deal with negativity then, and rejection, things like that? Like you're about to be like a lot better at it than I am, because as you said yourself, some people...
I'm absolutely not, if the truth be told. You could get all the praise in the world and one bad comment, and it's the one bad comment that I find that I'll sit and focus on, and it goes through my head, and it keeps me, keep you awake if you allow it to, and things. But that's where I was saying that, back to this thing about what's your passion and stuff, and it's about going out and doing stuff. For you, it's going to the gym, work it out. For me, go play some music or something, take the dog out, whatever, but just find ways to stop thinking about it. So no, I can honestly say that rejection and criticism and things, I find just as difficult as you do, if not more. But again, it's just something that you have to find ways of dealing with it. Otherwise, you drive yourself mad with that. It's not a good place to be, because if you allow these things to fester, you get more and more angry about it, and you get angry with other people about what they've done, and nobody gets hurt except you. So it really is just about finding things that you can do that will allow you to think differently, or think more positively, or let it go. Does it matter? At the end of the day, if someone's been made some really horrible comment, you go, well, either it's valid or it's not. If it's valid, then I can do something about it to improve it. And if it's not valid, in my opinion, then you go, let it go.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter, in the sense that that's what the way they feel. I can't change it. I can't do anything about it, but I can't beat myself up with it either. I have to not focus too much on that.
and you don't. Another thing as well is that, as I always tell people, is you don't let anyone else's comment or negativity live in, think about it a lot, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's living in their head rent free. Like you could be the nicest person in the whole entire world, and you're still going to get negativity. That's just life. It just is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think you have to build up a barrier to that, though. It does come down to, as well as, it's, as we're both saying, we've both kind of overcome it and things like that a little bit. But I mean, certain things are still like, oh damn, I wish I hadn't seen that. And then you're like, oh well, life goes on. Next minute, like this, you have to kind of be like, it does take. I'll fully admit myself, it's taken me a long time, like probably just over the last. Actually, just to be honest with you, over lockdown, because I kind of like, as weird as this, as cliche as this is, I kind of found myself over lockdown. So like, I'm not that concerned about like negativeness. Like, I know it's there now. As I said, it's like, oh man, that negative comment. And for example, it's like 9:30 now. So then I'll be like, I don't know, at 31 minutes past, I'll be like, okay, that's that done with. Like, that's all. Like, it's done. It's at the back of your head. You can't think about it, because you should never let anybody like bring you down as well. If that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I mean, as I said, if it's negative, if it's something negative and it's a valid point, then it's worth paying attention, just so that you can avoid doing it in the future, or fix if you've done something wrong. That's fine. But you're absolutely right. The only person that suffers if you focus on it is you. And it's the same with, you get angry about something because somebody's said or done something you don't like the way it is. Again, they're probably not giving it another thought, but you're focusing on it over and over again. So it's counterproductive. It doesn't help, but it's not always easy to shake that.
No, that's definitely not. It's a skill you learn. It's just the same as like what we're saying about putting yourself in the right place. That's eventually I heard this from I'll share a guy called Charlemagne the God. It's a strange name, but he's a radio presenter, and he's amazing. Do you know? Have you ever heard of him before? Or
no, I haven't. But I'm intrigued now.
He's a really cool guy. He's an author and a radio presenter. His books are incredible. But he's an author and radio presenter in the States. It's called The Breakfast Club. He and him and 3 other people invented it. And he's like, he's another one that's very like, at the end of the day, there's no point like letting everybody live in your head rent free. There's no point, pushing yourself to like places where that, because as he said, the more famous you get, the more hate you're going to get. You never get, the more famous you get, the more positive you get, or the more well known you are, or like if you're like a really screwed on person and stuff like that, that's envious. That's, people get so jaded because people don't know, if you're doing something you want to love every day versus someone that isn't, people are like, wow, like I've never done that, like I can't do that. So then they take it out on people like yourself. And I kind of lost my train of thought there when I was trying to go, but I think I explained myself quite well.
Yes, I think so. I think that's, and it's certainly cheerier than where we were hitting at one point in the conversation, so that's a good thing too.
Thing is though, you're very true, but what I will say is you've probably helped someone with what you said. That's always like reflecting on things like everything you've said today as well, tonight, sorry, as well as that you've probably helped somebody. So that again, that's somebody maybe needed to hear that. So that's the thing that matters the most.
Well, it would be nice if that was the case, certainly, but aye.
But I always like to get people, again, before I say what I was going to say, I always like to get people on the show, their social medias. But are you wanting people just to contact you through LinkedIn?
Yeah, that's a good one to use. And to the other option is they can go through the Xponorth website. Mm-hmm. Or in fact, I can give you a work email if that's. In fact, you've got my work email. Do you? No, you got the Gmail ones. It's iain.hamilton@hient.co.uk. So those are ways of getting hold of me. And as I said, I'm quite happy to hear from folk. If they think I can be of help, it might take a little while to respond. Depends on how busy at times, but I will try and help if I can.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll get you to send me that so I can just so I put it down correctly, because the amount of times people are like, "That's
Oh God,
not what
I
I
know
said," and
that's
I'm like, "I'm so
yeah,
sorry."
and especially because I've actually just given them your email address instead. You know, it's
and I didn't even click on.
aye.
But yeah, again, I really want to like, because I've definitely learned a lot, and like it's always like refreshing to speak to people that like are easy to get on with, to be honest with you, a nice way to put it. And again, that's why I do the podcast, because I feel everybody I speak to is so interesting. Like I have a genuine. I think that's what makes like things easier as well, as to, you know, if you have a genuine interest in people, it makes people feel comfortable. Like you're saying, I am like, it is. Yeah, I mean, trust me, it means a lot. The fact that you said I made you easy to speak to. That's going to go a long way.
Thanks, but and that wasn't just trying to be nice to you. Should throw that in. But no, I've enjoyed having a conversation. I'm not quite sure what happened to the time, because we seem to have just rattled through there and talking. So I've enjoyed it. That's
good. I'm glad. Well, I want to say to everybody, I appreciate you watching and listening. And I also found out as well, just on another note, that apparently we're on I think called Breaker and Radio. It's Radio Public. Somebody sent me a message. I don't really know what they are, but hello if you're listening there. I don't know what that is. If that's another, I'm guessing it's another listening medium. I didn't even know I was on there. So I guess, well, good, I guess. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much. And I thank you for an amazing guest. Thank you for your time, Iain. It means a lot. And
no, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
oh, it's my sheer pleasure. And as I say, if everybody, all his details will be below. So if you need to get in contact with him, everything, if you want to speak to him, just in general, or you know, about Xponorth or anything else he does, his details will be below. Thank you again, Iain, and thank you guys for watching and listening.